For all the latest news in North Central Washington, go to ncwlife.com or find us on Facebook. Got a news tip? Email us at news@ncwlife.com or call 888-2020.
Hi, and welcome to Life with Lisa Bradshaw. Thanks for joining me on the show. Today we are talking about entrepreneurship, specifically female entrepreneurship right here in our valley. And I have a guest on the show today that I know and see every other Friday when I get my massage at Columbia River Institute of Massage. Annie LaCroix is joining me today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You must have the greatest business on the planet because people come in needing you and leave so happy.
I do. I always tell people that I say that massage therapy is the one job where everybody is thrilled to see you and even happier when they leave. So
I don't think there's anything I look forward to more in my week, and I set it for the end of the week so that I can kind of build up to that. And I write most of the time for my job and do marketing and things, so I'm at my desk.
Yeah.
A lot, so I need it by the end of the week for sure.
Yeah, that's a smart way to do it. Our Fridays are booked for that reason.
I know. I book way out. So we want to talk about your specific business later in the show, but I wanted to talk with you about this idea of starting a business for people who are watching. You had an idea, and how did that get from concept to creation? What are the initial steps, or how did you come up with the idea to begin with?
Well, the original idea was I was working at a massage school. I attended a massage school, obviously, and I felt like there needed to be something better for what we call entry-level massage education. And so I knew that at some point I would be involved in the education aspect of it. And then the owner of the school at the time that used to be in Wenatchee decided to retire. And so I saw an opening, and I said, okay, well, I'll just jump on this opportunity and do it. So that's the very short version of why I decided that to open the school. Just, I knew there was a need, and his retirement set my speed up a lot faster.
I think that's really good. I know that there have been different goals I've set in my life, and if I set a date and it brings other people into that commitment, I did that when I wrote my second book. I set a date out of when the book launch party would be.
Yes.
6 months out. So every single thing I set up had to happen within about a week to 7 to 10 days. For me to reach that goal on time.
I always think that's a really good idea to do, is make something that's a public event that you have to go to, even if you have nothing for that, and then you'll get it done.
Then that's the accountability. The other part of having that commitment early on and what you're doing, I think sometimes, depending on what you're doing, it's okay to take a break, a little hiatus, and kind of collect yourself and keep going. If you can't set that projected date, it's really good to just keep on doing something toward it every day. So now you're in this commitment phase of your idea. And how much of what was already being done did you take with you into your business plan, and how much did you think, okay, there's some things I got to tweak here, and did you have any reservations about doing that?
I didn't have any reservations at all, which is probably why I own a business, because
you can't
I don't have any reservations.
Stalling around about things.
Right.
Yeah.
But the idea of a massage school, I took a little bit of what he had been doing, a little bit of it, but I basically built my own thing and my own curriculum, and I looked at other massage schools around the country. I don't have a lot of peers. I'm a very small massage school. I'm considered boutique size. I don't take more than 8 students.
I like that.
Thanks. I do too. It makes the classroom so much fun. But around the country, there's maybe 20 other schools my size. So I didn't really have another model to look at. There's other massage schools that are bigger, but I didn't really have a model. So I just started from the beginning of what I wanted. What do I want the end product to be? And I worked through it. And it was about a 9-month process. I really wanted to open on a specific date, coordinated with his retirement, the other school's closing. And so I just started from the ground up and plugged it in. And it's been a work in progress. I certainly did not have it perfect when I opened, but
you had to open.
You have to open.
That's the thing. If you waited for it to be perfect, you wouldn't be in business. And I think that's truth of all things. It's even doing the show. I didn't tell a lot of people when it was on the first, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shows I recorded. I just relied on the people who were inadvertently watching, because you don't necessarily want everyone to see all your mistakes.
Right.
And not that I'm perfect at it, but I at least get some of it right now. I know which camera to look in most of the time. Oh no, see, I got it wrong. But so it just takes practice and not being too hung up on the details.
Exactly. And I think there's a quote, and I'm trying to remember who said it, but it's related to the tech sector, but it says if you wait till it's perfect to ship, you ship too late. And it's the same idea. If you just wait till it's perfect, it's never going to be perfect. The timing's never going to be perfect or anything. So I just did it, and I've been tweaking it ever since, for sure. But that's how I opened, and I built it all, and I enrolled a bunch of people, and I didn't have a building. I didn't know where the school was, but I was enrolling people because I needed to enroll people. So
It's all this catch-22. To have the money to get a place and to have the people
right,
build it, and they'll come. But in that case, you had to have.
I had to have it. They were all starting in September, and I didn't have a place, but I couldn't afford to get a place earlier because you can't rent it for months and months and months. So I knew that, and I enrolled. I had a class enrolled, and so I drove around Wenatchee and found a place, and then spent about a month redoing the inside of it all night long, in addition to my full-time job, and doing that all for a month. And I had some help with it too, which was great. And then I was gluing Cove Base on the wall at 3 a.m. and then I started class at 8 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah, those are the stories. Really, they are. And I founded an entire nonprofit based on the idea of not waiting, the Don't Wait Project.
Right.
And it's all about taking that leap, whatever that leap is. It doesn't have to be opening a massage school.
Right.
It can be literally just don't wait to call your mom, or don't wait to use your grandmother's china, whatever it is. But everybody's got one.
Yep.
Everybody's got a don't wait. Everyone's got a story to tell. So we're coming back in just a minute. We're going to finish our conversation with Annie LaCroix.
Yes.
OIX. And she is the owner of Columbia River Institute of Massage Therapy. In just a moment.
Are you wanting high-speed internet but don't have access to PUD fiber? Try Sky-Fi high-speed wireless internet from LocalTel. Call 888-8888 today.
Hi, we're back. Thanks for joining me today. We're talking with Annie LaCroix. She is the owner of Columbia River Institute of Massage Therapy. That is a tongue twister. Thanks for being here. We're talking specifically about entrepreneurship and about your massage school as an example of an idea, concept to creation. And when we left for the break, we were talking about the all-nighters you pulled in that month because you had to wait to rent a space until you had students, and you didn't want to have the space for too long. So you basically had a month to get it the way you wanted.
Correct.
And you let's talk about capital. Let's talk about challenges. Let's talk about the things that happened along the way that some people would have said, this is harder than I thought. I think I'm just going to keep my full-time job. Not that there's anything wrong with a full-time job that is, that you're an employee, but if you have these goals and ideas about being an entrepreneur, there are a lot of roadblocks, and that's kind of what we want to talk about in this part of the show. What are the things that you faced that you just had to push through?
Let me narrow it down.
Kind of in order of, from the time you got started to you opening your doors at 8 a.m.
I think the biggest thing was not knowing what I was doing, which hasn't necessarily stopped me before, but you're asking people to trust you and invest in you and do all this stuff, and I didn't know what that structure looked like. So that was the biggest one. I also, at the time, happened to be going through a divorce, which is just a stressor. It just is. I had... In general, I had basically no money at all. No money at all. So everything I did was sweat equity. And
so when we say capital, it wasn't like you were able to go borrow $20,000 to secure this school and the building and have 3 months to get everything ready.
Correct. And I specifically didn't want to borrow money to do it. So that was a big... that was very important to me, to not borrow money to do it. So I did a lot of things. I asked a lot of people for help, and I got a ton of help, which was great, and I also got
When you say help, what do you mean? Like massage sweat equity
tables.
too?
No,
tables.
Yeah,
like tangibles.
Tangibles. Like if you have old massage books that you want to donate, if you have massage tables, if you have whatever
shelf
it is.
for lotion,
shelf
whatever,
for lotion.
right? Yeah.
So I got everything donated. And you saw the school in the beginning, so you kind of remember that the house was as it was. It was fine, but it wasn't, there's nothing fancy. It was as it was.
Tell everyone where you're located so you get an idea.
230 North Mission Street.
So Mission Street, right
Right.
there at the corner of, or just before.
Well, between Second and Fifth.
Yes, between Second and Fifth.
Right in that
And how long
area.
have you been there?
It's 6 years this week.
Right. So, well, congratulations on that. I've been going for 5.
Right on. That's great. Yeah.
So 5 years. But go ahead.
No, that's okay. And so so there were a lot of just life stressors in the beginning that were going on. There's money, which is always a stressor. And then building something that I felt good enough to open, but knowing that there was work ahead of me. And then just opening it. That was it. And then in the beginning, the school part actually comes easy to me. I love teaching, and I don't mind being up in front of people, and I know the curriculum well, and I enjoy that. So the teaching part was sort of the easy part of the whole project, which is funny. But those were the hurdles in the beginning. And then it's been really kind of smooth sailing since then. I've had some things I wanted to do, which I can talk about in a second, but it's been very smooth sailing because the community, that we're open to the public for massage, and it's $30 because a student's working on you, which comes with it. The students, they work really hard, and everybody raves about how well they do, but they're still students and they're practicing, and so the massage is discounted.
I think there's two sides to that. I like that they're students because I'm pretty communicative. When they ask what I want, what I like, what I don't like, I'm pretty specific.
Right.
Completely polite and nice, but very specific. And I wouldn't say it with all massage therapists, people obviously who've had experience doing it a long time are some of the best I've received as well. I think that it's that in between, that therapist who can't really hear you and listen to what you want and kind of has that same routine they do every time. That's been doing a long time. Now, the person who's been doing a long time who can still manage to kind of give you what you want, but also what you need, I kind of go in there for the fluff. And then I get worked over anyway.
Yes.
So I think that specifically to massage, I think that there's a benefit to them being so new. If they can listen and if they are also communicative, which some are more than others.
Definitely.
So when you select students, just as another part that might have been a challenge to the job, not specific to any industry, but and yours particularly, you have students that are going to be dealing with the public in a very sensitive and kind of intimate way,
very much.
For lack of a better word.
Yep.
So you have to be selective about that.
I am, and I'm very selective. That was a big part of just something I decided I wasn't going to go away from. I'm very selective. I don't take everybody that applies. I want it to be that way. I also, because I limit my classes to 8 people, I want everybody to get along and to do well. So I have a long interview process and a long application process, and I am particular about it. And so a lot of times, there aren't as many issues in the clinic by the time the public gets to see people because they've already been working with me. I already vetted them, and when they get to clinic, they are just working so hard to do such a good job that everybody really likes it.
There's been a few times that I've been someone's first massage ever, opening the clinic, and I always, it's funny to see the difference between that day and the last part of the semester. But I'm always bummed when you guys close for the break. I'm thinking this is a school, but does it really need a break? I don't think it needs a break.
I think that is the only place I get grief from people is that we close, because we close for almost 4 weeks in the winter, and we close for almost 3 weeks in the summer. You're like, I know, I could write the calendar, but that's the only place I get grief, which is a good problem to have.
Yes,
everybody
it is a good
does that.
problem to have.
But we do have mostly regulars there. You and a bunch of other people.
I recognize the same people when I go in, because I go pretty much at the same time each week or every other week, whatever it is.
About 80% of the people do. They have their time slot, and they just go there.
So then let's talk more in a broad sense and about when we come back. Let's talk more in a broad sense about how you're now in the school and you're running a business daily, and it's you're dealing with the public and you're dealing with a school, so you're dealing with all these different entities of business, all these different portions of business.
Yes.
And I wanted to talk too when we come back about the growth and the success of it, because to a person who's walking in each week, or every other week, I've seen the changes just as an observer. So kudos to you on that. But we'll
Thank
talk
you.
more specifically about what I'm talking about there when we come back.
Get the fastest internet available in North Central Washington by switching to LocalTel and get speeds up to 1,000 meg. Call 888-8888 today or go online to localtel.net.
Hi, we're back. This is Life with Lisa Bradshaw, and I have a co-host today, Annie LaCroix, because I keep getting tongue-tied when I say the name of your business. So you go ahead.
Columbia River Institute of Massage Therapy.
There, now you can consider yourself my co-host today.
Excellent, perfect.
So we are talking about the start and finish of her business, from the idea of starting a school to the challenges that she faced when starting the school, those roadblocks that entrepreneurs often face and need to figure out if they want to be in business, and then now to the day-to-day operations of a business. So you had this idea, you brought it to fruition, you faced the challenges to open your school, and for one, is it what you hoped it would be?
Yes.
And how did it exceed or meet your expectations? And then that day-to-day operation of things.
It definitely exceeded my expectations. It became everything I wanted it to become. So
For example.
Well, I haven't had a day I don't want to go to work. And I think
that's important.
that's a really good thing.
Right.
And
it doesn't feel like work?
It doesn't feel like
when
work.
they tell you, find something you do, you love, and find a way to get paid for it?
Right, exactly, exactly. Although people say, but that's because you're in massage. But there's, as you know, there's a lot more to it.
Oh,
than
sure,
just
to running a
business
business.
ownership. But I love my job. I absolutely love the students. And the community has been great. It's been really neat to have so many people come into the clinic and stuff. So it's exceeded all my expectations in terms of how much joy it brings me and how much a real sense of fulfillment that I have. I wanted that, but it's neat to have arrived
Have
there.
it be what you wanted.
Yes, exactly.
And then also the financial part of things. You know,
Yes.
you didn't have any money to start, so you had to rent your location and open it within 30 days so that you
Yes.
had some income coming in. You had to find your students before you found the location.
Yes.
So how has it fulfilled you in that way?
Well, it's been
You're no
great.
longer scraping by, I hope.
Nope, I bought that building.
Oh, good for you.
So I didn't have to rent it anymore, which was great.
And did you know that that was an option?
Yes.
Going in? So you wanted to pick a place that you could perhaps one day buy?
No, it was just a bonus. I was just looking for a place.
You would have taken it anyway?
I would have taken it anyway, and then he
So
happened
you've never
to want
moved
to sell it.
locations from the beginning?
I haven't.
That's really
Which is great,
extraordinary.
and
Yeah.
hopefully I never have to.
Yeah, well,
So-
if you own it.
I know exactly.
You're the boss.
Yeah, that's true. I am the boss. No. But I bought the building, and then I intended to do a bunch of stuff. Which, if you've come to the clinic, you know what needed to be done, right? So I remodeled the inside. You saw this year I finally painted the outside.
Well, hold on. So let's back that up a bit. So someone who goes there every other week or so for 5 years, yes, you're right. I noticed the things that needed to be done, but I didn't expect them to be done. I didn't feel like, I knew I was going to a school. Like I said, I wasn't looking for waterfalls and, all these, this serene setting. I wasn't looking for any of that. I wanted the $30 massage and to have it, be, even if it wasn't a really perfect massage the first few times, that I knew it would work into a better one each time I went because they're students.
Right.
So when I came back, when was it after?
It was last year. It was last June.
Last
well,
June.
Well, so you came back in July.
for the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Complete metamorphosis. And I don't know if you told other people you were doing it, but I didn't know. And it is absolutely perfectly done.
Thank you.
The colors, the everything.
Thank you.
Everything looks top notch. And that's probably something you saw for your future that might have been the most frustrating part.
For me, it absolutely was,
'Cause
because
the
I
visual.
really saw everything that was wrong.
Yeah.
And I know people do like the $30 massages, but I didn't feel like that was an excuse for not making everything else as nice as possible. So I
It
always
wasn't
felt
a
like
dump.
that was lacking. It wasn't.
It wasn't a
but
dump.
It was.
Yeah.
I saved up for that. I
Yeah,
saved up for
everything you
that.
did was exactly what it needed. But I
know,
didn't
I'm
know,
so
I didn't think
happy
about
with
what it needed till I walked in and saw what it had been done. Does that make sense?
Yes, it totally did. And everybody said that to me. Everybody just went, I'm in a different place.
Yeah,
and that was
completely different place.
meant a lot to me. So it's been good. And then this year I did the outside, I did the yard finally, which
Yes.
needed it. And so it's been great. And I I make a good living, I enjoy it, I love what I do. People say, well, where do you want to be in 5 years? And I say, right here.
That's a great answer.
It's right, this is exactly what I want to be doing, so.
Well, and it's interesting, the goals. So you had the goal of, working in the community, starting something on your own, not borrowing money to do it, and then you were able to save enough money to do the work that you wanted to do. So that's if you had a 5-year goal, 5, 6, 10-year goal, you met that.
Yes.
For me, I remember once in an interview, someone asked me when I was on their show, what was my number one career goal? And I think that that's one thing people need to ask themselves, especially if they're considering entrepreneurship, because you have to really think outside the box.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's harder to be an entrepreneur in that flexibility
Yes.
allows for procrastination and other things.
Yes.
But the question was asked, what was my number one career goal? And it was, my answer has been the same always, to be home by 3 o'clock every day when my son gets home. I don't know what I'm going to do this fall when he leaves for college and it's 3 o'clock and he's not coming home. But that's a whole other show.
Yeah.
That's like a whole other series, really.
It is.
So I think that having that definition ahead of time,
Right.
by me saying 3 o'clock every day, well, that's pretty wide open. But it did mean I couldn't work somewhere from 8 to 5.
Right.
For me, I couldn't do that and reach that goal.
Right.
And I'm a widowed parent, so I didn't have the volley of another parent helping with other things.
Right.
It was always me, and it's always been me since he was 5 years old. So for you now, now that you've reached this kind of pinnacle, that how it is right now is how you'd like it to be,
Right.
what advice do you give for someone who's considering a business or reaching it, kind of coming up against those roadblocks, whether it's a brick and mortar business like yours that has a physical location, or you're wanting to start an online business, or you're wanting to do direct marketing type business?
Right.
What is the biggest piece of advice you give about that?
Gosh, that's like a whole nother show.
It is.
It is.
But off the top of your head, what do you think is most important?
You have to be willing to do the work. Which sounds so obvious, but you can't be risk averse. Those are two different
Right.
things. You have to be okay with risk, not knowing, just every day going at it, and you just have to be willing to do the work. And I have a lot of people come to me and want advice. I work with a lot of graduates and stuff to start their own business.
Right, because they're leaving and they got to do something with what they just learned.
And I just say, if you aren't in a position to make this the number one priority, you probably shouldn't open a business. And that's it. It's just doing the work. It's so simple, and yet it's so hard. You just have to show up and do the work.
Well, and when you talk about risk, I think it's important to mention too, your risk was what you were willing to risk. You weren't willing to borrow money.
Correct.
You found a location that needed work.
Correct.
You didn't find the hottest, nicest spot downtown.
Nope.
So that was where your risk level was. Everyone has, someone might have $50,000 to invest in a business. That's their level of risk. I think the financial part is the part you really got to be honest with yourself about.
Correct.
Because if risk is, the stuff that you just don't get back, your time, your sweat, that equity,
Right.
that's one thing. But if you're trying to raise a family and take care of people and make sure you've got something left, if it doesn't work, because there are reasons it doesn't work that are beyond your control.
Right.
But I think that that's part of it too.
Definitely. You have to be honest about all of it. You have to be honest about your weaknesses, about your strengths. You have to be willing to celebrate your strengths and without being arrogant about it. You have to be very honest about your weaknesses and mitigate those problems so that you can solve both of those. You are the business. You have to know your financial position, and you have to understand your business. All my students have to write a business plan, because I think so many people start a business in that entrepreneurial seizure. Oh, I should do it, but they don't make the long-term plan, and so.
I would agree with you. I own 3 businesses, and I never written a business plan.
Well,
I know. I think it's important, but I think for some people it would be the first roadblock.
It would be
the
the first
idea of
roadblock.
sitting down and having a great idea. So when we say business plan, perhaps you start with just a simple outline on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Step 1, step 2, and then maybe when you get to step 3, you got to put that.
And I don't necessarily mean formal business plan either. I mean, I bet you had some thought on
Yes,
paper.
I have thought. I didn't
Yes.
put it down on paper. I did follow,
Yeah.
even when I write, I've written 2 books. When I write, I don't write an outline.
Right.
I just start writing, and then that chapter fits there and there. So everyone works from it differently.
Everybody works
But I
differently.
can see the benefit. If you're a school, it makes sense to teach someone how to write a business plan.
Yeah.
So we should do this again, because
Yes,
we're already
I would
out
love
of time.
to. Yeah,
Yes,
please.
Thanks
That went
for
so
being
fast.
here.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
you.
Thank you
Annie
for having me.
LaCroix.
From Columbia River Institute of Massage Therapy.
Perfect. She said it, so I didn't mess it up. We'll be back next week.
Stay up to date with what's happening in North Central Washington. Go to the NCW Life Community Calendar at ncwlife.com.